Bandits abduct 13 persons in Katsina, cut away properties worth millions. Kidnapped Edo PDP chairman Azeg Bemi regains freedom. Labour Party dares NLC insist on Wednesday convention. On the international scene, U.S. bridge collapses after ship collision. Hello and welcome to Trust News Update. I am Sumaya Abubakar. Thank you for joining us, and now the details. Will start with security. Now, 13 persons, including 12 married women and a man, are said to have been kidnapped in a fresh bandit attack at Kurechin Gie village at Makera ward in Dutama local government area of Katsina State. During the invasion, the hoodlums carted away properties worth millions of naira belonging to the residents. A resident said that the hoodlums were armed with dangerous and sophisticated weapons and invaded the village late Monday. Although the government and other security authorities in the state are yet to comment on the issue, the residents said during the attack, which lasted for hours, there was no security intervention or reinforcement. And now joining us live via phone call is Abdullahi Amadi, Trust TV reporter. Good afternoon, Abdullahi.
Hello, good afternoon.
It's good to have you. So give us a picture of how this community is dealing with, the impact of this attack.
Well, like you said, Kurechin Gie in Dusima local government is one of the remote communities. And the rampaging bandits attacked late Monday evening when residents were preparing to break their fast. The bandits were said to be looking for some residents of the village who are members of the local vigilante group in Dusima. And in the process, they looted houses, carted away food items and other valuables, beside abducting 12 women and 12 people, among them 11 women and one man, as well as rustling several animals in the process. And of course, the worst part of this attack is that the merciless bandits poured hot porridge or pop, if you like, on some children, inflicting severe injuries on them, even though they were rushed to Dusima General Hospital, where they are receiving medical attention at the moment. And like you said, they operated for at least 2 hours without intervention. And this, some of the residents attributed to communication issues, because it could be so because a source close to police authorities in Dusima said the police came to know about the attack almost an hour after the operation. The Katsina police spokesman, ASP Abubakar Sadiq, said the command is aware of the attack and he's waiting for some details from the Dusima Divisional Police headquarters before going to the press. So this is the situation at the moment.
So how are the communities taking all of this? I mean, we've heard of the situation where Katsina already have the vigilante corps, in order to keep their own society and communities safe. So is, this community that has been attacked, is there no plan for that kind of security?
Well, community. And I think it is sharing boundaries with Musa and, of course, Safana local government, which all of these local governments have this local security, community security, what's called. But I think the issue has to do with this communication something, because they would have, had it been they communicated well, maybe the local security what's called, and of course the vigilante group would have provided enforcement for the villagers.
So the network was the issue.
You say?
The network was the problem.
Yes, this according to many residents of the Kurechin Gear. They said they tried calling security operatives, but unfortunately due to network issue, they could not succeed in doing that.
It's a really sad situation. Thank you so much, Abdullahi Yamadi. We'll definitely reach out to you for subsequent update.
Okay, thank you most sincerely.
Of course. All right, away from that, still on security, the Nigerian military has revealed the successful rescue of the 137 abducted Kaduna school children in Zamfara State, saying it employed both kinetic and non-kinetic methods as the children were freed after 16 days in captivity. Details of the specific strategy used were not disclosed by General Saraso, the General Officer 1 Division of the Army. Trust TV's Bello Musa was at the Kaduna State Government House for the release of the school children back to their parents. Take a look.
After enduring 16 days in captivity, the Kuriga school children arrived at the Government House around 2 p.m., where they were warmly welcomed by top government officials headed by Chief of Staff Sani Kila. The General Officer commanding 1 Division Nigerian Army provided details on the number of students present for the handover. Among the rescued children were 76 females and 61 males, totaling 137 individuals, excluding the deceased teacher.
In all, there were 137 children and 1 staff member, making a total of 138 persons altogether that were abducted on that ill-fated day from the 2 schools. But here this afternoon, unfortunately, the staff member, Mr. Abubakar, is not here with us because he was reported to have died while in captivity.
The General Officer commanding assured the government that the students were initially medically evaluated in Zamfara State. He further stated that once the remaining 6 hospitalized students fully recover, they will be promptly handed over to the state government.
Safely rescued after spending about 16 days in captivity. The students were initially received and administered first aid at the Nigerian Army Troops Forward Operating Base at Tansadao Forest in Zamfara State, close to where they were rescued, before being served refreshment, and from where they were subsequently conveyed under our escort to Kaduna.
In his remarks, Governor Obasani cautioned against making statements that could undermine the effort of the security agencies.
We decided from the beginning not to focus on issue of politics, because security, like I've always said, is not politics. We have to be cautious. We should not politicize the issue of insecurity in Nigeria. And that is the reason why we are very discreet in the way we approach this issue, and today we are successful. But any attempt to continue to undermine the effort of the security agencies in Nigeria in the name of politics is jeopardizing the lives and properties of our innocent citizens in Nigeria.
The safe return of the school children has renewed public confidence in the capabilities of the security forces to stabilize the growing insecurity in Kaduna, even as the challenges continued unabated. Bello Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
Meanwhile, the federal government has disclosed that ransom was not paid to effect the release of the school children abducted in the Kuriga area of Kaduna State. Minister of Information and National Orientation, Muhammad Idris, disclosed this while addressing the State House correspondents on Monday.
Mr. President and members of council were happy to note that, as promised by Mr. President, these children were reunited or have been rescued from these captives. And as usual, and in keeping with the commitment of Mr. President, no ransom was paid. We are very grateful to the Federal Executive Council and Mr. President are very grateful to especially the National Security Advisor, the service chiefs, and all security agents who participated diligently in ensuring that these kidnapped children are reunited with their families.
The Plateau State Police Command on Monday said it has deployed police personnel to the affected communities of Mekang and Lantan local government areas where crises between Montol and Taro ethnic groups erupted on Saturday over land disputes. Reports say Saturday's clash resulted in the loss of 9 persons and destruction of houses, barns, as well as rustling of cattle in the areas. Reacting to the development, the spokesperson of the State Police Command, DSP Alfred Alabo, stated that the swift reaction of the police prevented the escalation of the crisis. Meanwhile, the State Commissioner of Information and Communication, Ibrahim Musa Ashom, on Monday condemned the crisis, assuring that security personnel have been deployed to the affected communities to restore law and order.
We woke up yesterday with this gory story that people who had lived together all their lives decided to take up arms in an issue they would have resolved amicably. You know, there are alternative dispute resolution mechanisms that when we explore them, nobody is going to be hurt. But in this case, that was not used. People pick up arms against brothers and sisters, and unfortunately, we lost 6 persons, and we have about 30 persons who are badly injured, and about 40 houses were touched, and food bans were raised. So it's quite unfortunate. It happened because of land disputes. Where you have common boundaries, you find people having such issues.
The Edo State chairman of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Tony Eziegbemi, has been released after being kidnapped by a gang of gunmen near his home in Benin City. He was set free by his abductors in the early hours of Tuesday and returned to his Benin City residence around 3 a.m. The special advisor for media project to the Edo State Governor, Crusoe Osage, confirmed the release. He was the former member of the House of Representatives from the Esan Northeast and Esan Southeast Federal Constituency of Edo State. Away from security matters, the leadership of the Labour Party said it won't rescind the decision to hold its contentious national convention on Wednesday as planned. The development comes 2 days after the party formally petitioned relevant government institutions requesting an urgent intervention to protect the party against further aggression from the Nigerian Labour Congress. In the 4 separate letters written to the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, Attorney General of the Federation Lateef Fagbemi, Minister of Labour and Employment and Registrar of Trade Unions, the party also called for disciplinary action to be taken against the NLC President, Joe Ajaero, and other union leaders who spearheaded the alleged vandalization of its properties. The ongoing conflict over the control of the party escalated last Wednesday when members of the union, acting on the directive of NLC leadership, picketed the LP secretariats across the country. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on Monday approved the renewed Hope Infrastructure Fund to bridge Nigeria's infrastructure gap. Nigeria will require about $2 billion per year to bridge the funding gap of 828 billion naira by 2040. Minister of Information Mohammed Idris gave the newsmen these details at the State House Abuja, the breakdown after Monday's Federal Executive Council meeting. Kehinde Amodu reports.
Bridging Nigeria's infrastructure gap has been an ongoing conversation for the past 2 decades. In fact, the Buhari administration spent 2 terms harping on capital projects to bridge the infrastructure gap. At the end of the day, the gap remains as wide as ever. 8 months into his first term, President Tinubu has caught the Bridge the Gap bug and is setting up a renewed Hope Infrastructure Fund that would focus on road, rail, agriculture, ports, and aviation.
And this is expanding the initial Presidential Infrastructure Development Fund that we have. And this, our Renew Hope Infrastructure Development Fund, unifies effort, streamlining project delivery for maximum impact. It accelerates infrastructure development, sparking economic dynamism nationwide. And the key objective of the fund is to invest in nationally critical projects in sectors that will promote growth, enhance local value addition through backward, forward, and parallel linkages, create employment opportunities, promote technological innovation, promote exports.
Meanwhile, President Tinubu has asked all members of his administration to fast-track people-oriented government activities such as consumer credit, student loans, and other social programs. To this end, the President has given the go-ahead for the establishment of the Economic Management Team Task Force, which has 6 months to design the administration's economic revitalization programs.
Below that, there is now, instead of just the economic management team, a economic management team task force. And for the next 6 months, that task force made up of selected members of the economic management team, the private sector, as well as the subnationals, as well as the governors, the Nigerian representative of the Nigerian Governors Forum, will work assiduously to ensure that, having dealt with major issues of monetary and fiscal policy, that the real sector growth is assured.
On the critical issue of funding, Nigeria is now a member of the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development that focuses on agribusiness, infrastructure, transport, and many other sectors. It is already getting offers on Eurobond to finance the programs of government, in addition to which it has secured agricultural support worth 15 billion yen from a Japanese agency. From State House Abuja, Kehinde Amodu, Trust TV News.
You're watching Trust News Update. Coming up, universities back to live as SANU and NASU, NAT, end industrial action. This and more after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Trust News Update. Here's a recap of our top stories. Bandits abduct 13 persons in Katsina, cut away properties worth millions. And kidnapped Edo PDP chairman Azie Gbemi regains freedom. Now moving on to more stories. Following the decision of the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, NACON, to jack up the 2024 Hajj fare by 1.9 million naira, many intending pilgrims on Monday asked the state Muslim Pilgrims Welfare Boards to refund their deposits. This is just as prominent civil society organizations and stakeholders called on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to save this year's Hajj from flopping. NACON on Sunday increased the fare for this year's pilgrimage to Saudi Arabia by 1.9 million naira while setting a deadline of March 28, 2024. NACON had in December 2023 fixed a fare of 4.9 million naira per pilgrim based on an exchange rate of 897 naira to a dollar. Life has returned to federal universities across the country following the suspension of the one-week warning strike over salary arrears. At the University of Lagos, our correspondent reports that members of the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, SANU, and the Non-Academic Staff Union of Educational and Associated Institutions, NASU, were seen at their duty on Monday. Victoria Tokolo has more in this report.
The Joint Action Committee Union, comprising the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, the Non-Academic Staff Union of Educational and Associated Institutions, and the National Association of Academic Technologists, on Monday called off their 7-day warning strike as they all resumed at their duty posts. The 7-day warning strike, which began on Monday, 18th of March 2024, was initiated due to withheld salaries.
This strike is not on suspension. It's a 7 days warning strike. And we have engaged in the strike. The strike ended midnight of yesterday. So that strike has been achieved. If the government does not attend to our demands, it is the national body that will also call for a national meeting. And at the end of the meeting, a decision will be taken whether to go on another 14 days warning strike or 21 days warning strike or indefinite strike. It depends on the directive of the national body. We don't have the final say. It's the directive of the national that is guiding our decisions here.
For my own union, which is NASU, it only lasted for 4 months. Same with SANU, because we went under the umbrella of JAC. And then Ngige came up with the no work, no payment policy. But last year, after the election, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came in and he said he's given a 4-month waiver for all the university-based unions, irrespective of their affiliations. And to our surprise, the man who was like a mediator then, former House of Representative Speaker, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, now the Chief of Staff to the President, single-handedly wrote to the Makata General to pay only ASU. I mean, who does that? 4 unions went on strike, and now you are writing to the Accountant General to pay only 1 out of those 4 unions, segregating the other 3 unions. It's not fair. So that was what led to these 7 days protest, which was directed by our national body.
Despite the lack of a formal agreement, all non-teaching staff across federal universities in the country have returned to work following a directive from the national body. Their hope is that the federal government will engage more constructively with their leaders to resolve the salary payment issues at Wednesday's meeting between the unions and the federal government.
From the international scene, the Francis Scott Key Bridge in the U.S. city of Baltimore has collapsed after a ship collided with it. The Maryland Transportation Authority said the incident happened early on Tuesday and urged drivers to avoid the route over the Patapsco River, which is called an active scene. A police spokesperson from the Baltimore Police Department added victims were possibly in the river. Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott and Baltimore County Executive Johnny Olszewski Jr. both said that they were aware of the incident and that rescue efforts were underway. Militant has killed a soldier in an attempt to storm a major Pakistan naval air base in the country's turbulent southwest. The military said security forces fought off the attempt and 4 militants were killed trying to enter the base in Turband City on Monday night. The attack comes days after security forces killed at least 7 militants as they attempted to storm the offices of a Pakistan port considered a cornerstone of Chinese investment. Pakistan has for decades battled a simmering insurgency in southwestern Balochistan province, where separatists hostile to Islamabad have often targeted foreign interests and police and military positions. In sports, Super Falcons coach Randy Waldrum has extended invitations to Captain Rasheedat Ajibade, US-based African Queen Asisat Oshoala, and high-riding goalkeeper Chiamaka Nnadozie among a group of 22 players for the two-legged Paris Olympics final qualifying fixture against South Africa next month. Saudi Arabia-based defender Ashley Plumter and veteran rear guard Osinachi Ohale are also called, as well as youthful midfielder Deborah Abiodun and forwards Esther Okoronkwo and Uche Nakanu. They are recalls for 2019 World Cup star Chidima Okeke and veteran forward Chiwendu Ihezuo, and a first invitation for under-20 defender Shukurat Oladipo. The Super Falcons are at home for the first leg scheduled for Friday, the 5th of April at the MKO Abiola National Stadium, Abuja, before flying to Pretoria for the return at the Loftus Versfeld Stadium on Tuesday, 9th of April. The winner over two legs will earn one of Africa's two tickets to this year's Women's Olympic Football Tournament, with Zambia and Morocco to clash for the other tickets on the same dates. And with that, we've come to the end of Trust News Update. Do not forget to follow us across all our social media platforms and join our YouTube for more news, programs, and documentaries. I am Sumaya Abubakar. Thanks for watching.